with the trends. Like if something will go out. Interruption.
Sorry, do you have a Pritt stick I could use, please?
A what?
Pritt stick.
A Pritt stick,
please.
yeah.
There
you Train of thought just went. Things. So obviously you do product design now, but back earlier before uni, like what got you into sort of design generally?
Before uni?
Yeah, or did you get into it before uni? Like, did you do like an art or design course?
Yeah, no. So I did product design for A level. I always just loved product design. Like I'd loved it since GCSEs. Like so obviously did what was it called? It's called resistant materials when I was in year 10.
Got you, yeah.
That was what I did in GCSE. So year 10, 11 did resistant materials, and that was really fun, to be fair, because like that was first access to like a lot of cool new things like 3D printing, like all the Adobe software which I'd never used before, and so it was like a big introduction to all of that. And like 3D printing, I just abused, and like my teacher loved 3D printing, so he was just like, yeah, fucking 3D print everything, like yeah, 3D print this, you can do all this, have fun with it. We're like, all right, cool. And we had like 5 little 3D prints in the school, and it was sick, to be fair, because not a lot of schools actually had them.
I was going to say, yeah. I don't think our school. No, so my college had a 3D printer, but
yeah,
we couldn't use it unless what they called the mature students or the teacher was there. And when we were using it, we personally didn't use it. We had to give them the designs to then have them do it. So we weren't trusted.
That was what we had in year 10 and year 11. He was just like, okay, well, actually, I can't be bothered, you guys, because it's only him really who was able to work them. He's like, I can't be bothered to like print off
all of it. Yeah.
Like, just come in, I'll tell you how to do it. And then he's just like, yeah, you can buy your own filament then and just go nuts with it, basically. So I did, and then just started 3D printing loads of stuff. And like my project in GCSE was like this rocket ship. It was like about this big.
Nice.
It was pretty big, and I 3D printed like each little section. You could like screw them together and stuff.
That's insane.
I don't even know what I angled it towards being. I think it was some sort of maths aid, or I can't even remember. It was something weird. It had like some second like,
it wasn't just a cool spaceship.
Yeah, pretty much. and that was just fun. Yeah, no, I just had like loads of fun making that, and that's actually still displaying in the school, which is
that's it. Well, there you go. There's a flex.
That is the biggest flex I have ever made in my life.
That's the accomplishment done.
Yeah, I'm done now. I can retire.
Because we had in school, in GCSE, we had resistant materials. So like that was woodwork, metalwork, like the more sort of hands-on stuff. Yeah. And then we had product design, which is what, so that's what I did. And that was more project, like design, what do you call them? Live drawings or models and things like that. And if we had to make something, it would obviously, the priority would be the design and aesthetic of the product, not actually how well it was sort of made. Because if it was sort of split so I had friends in obviously all the sort of thing that you did, they would always sort of do the physical, they'd be in there all day making it, and we'd be in the sort of classroom drawing it away on our little drawing pads that you angle up and use your little triangles, set squares, things like that. And to be fair, that's what got sort of me and the rest of the people I knew into. But it wasn't Photoshop. It was some weird like laser cutting program, but it wasn't CAD either. It was like
Corel Draw.
I can't remember what it was called.
Corel Draw, I remember that being the other one we used for.
But like, I think so. For my final in GCSE, I made a board game, but we had to in the brief laser cut something to do. Like, obviously, something. One of the components had to be. So I made these little hurdle sprinters. It was like a little board game, and I laser cut the hurdles and I laser cut the people, and they sort of like slotted into each other.
Yeah.
And to be fair, again, they were like with you. I think it was on display for a good few years, and then they sort of and they were like, "Who the hell is this kid?" Like, and obviously, bear in mind, my sister's now in year 9, and I was in school Christ, 8-9 years ago, and they were just like, right, okay, we should
Yeah.
probably take this down now. But again, like it's just a weird sort of thing where obviously that was the first time I'd taken a literal drawing or sketch of something to then making it.
Make it, yeah.
So I can see where like that love for like, because obviously now, do you guys only do the plan drawings, or do you actually make physical stuff or mock-ups as well, or not?
Well, like my degree now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we literally do the whole thing. So I was actually, it's interesting you saying like how yours are separate, because obviously we had a similar thing where it was like you had resistant materials and there's two other things. I think it was like electronics and then kind of similar to what you were doing.
Got you.
But like my whole degree now is like all of it in one.
Got
like
you.
I'll like for my project I'm doing at the minute, I'm doing all the sketches, I'm doing all of the research side of that now, which admittedly is a little bit tedious, but obviously got to be done.
Of course.
But next term we're in the workshops from February till like May or something, and we have that whole 3-month period to make our project, like make a physical working prototype. And then at the end of the year we've got a design show which like loads of businesses come to, and we showcase our project there. So
you've basically got free reign for the whole few months then of where you sort of take your drawings and
pretty much like we for the concept Viva, we just had to come up with it wasn't like a detailed design, but it was just like a sketch, sort of a breakdown of the like key features, and then like what sort of materials you're going to be using, just all the research stuff, like stuff backing up your decision making basically. And then we work on that, and then in January I just continue working on that, and then we have to we have this thing called a defense Viva, which is where we have to argue to the lecturer, not argue, but sort of explain to the lecturers why we've made all of these decisions, and
sort of convince them, or sell it. Got you.
We can like carry on making it and stuff basically. Not really say like can't, but yeah.
I'm intrigued because when I first I think when Jake first spoke about you doing product design, the first thing that made me sort of respond to it was like, I wonder how like different it is in the way that like you have a process, because just then like you're saying like you research, you develop the idea, you not sell the idea, but you convince yourself probably as well. You essentially sell it to yourself and the tutor to then you develop it further and make the product. It sounds really similar to graphics in that way, because although for us, so we had illustration, we had Viscom. I did Viscom, which is like visual communication. So that sort of umbrellas under everything. And again, you spend a month maybe researching into the thing that you're, shall we say, the issue that you're looking into.
Yeah, the problem area.
And again, like it's the problem solving aspect, which sounds similar, because again, with you guys, I assume you don't make a product for the sake of it just being a product. I assume there's an issue or a problem that needs to be solved for it to be something. So
yeah, definitely. We had it's like we had to present the problem initially and be like, oh yeah, this is what I want to design. I got rejected 3 times this year. It took the 4th one for me to actually get approved. I was like, thank God. Had to play catch up. But essentially, it's the same. It is the same.
Yeah.
Honestly, you do the whole research thing. It is a very, like, the fundamentals of both graphic and product design are very similar, which is really helpful, and which I'm like grateful for knowing, especially coming into doing graphic design.
I was just saying, because that kind of links into how you've kind of got into graphic design then, because it sort of rolls over in a sense. Because I feel like product design, there's a lot more. I feel like there's a more theoretical and actual practical side compared to graphics, maybe, where it's hard because when obviously I did the degree in graphics, the first thing they drill into you is the theory of just basically communicating properly. And again, probably the same thing with yourself, where if you're making a product, or whether it be a product or a poster or an advert or campaign, whatever, if you're not actually hitting the target audience that you're making it for, then you've fucked up the first hurdle. So again, it's that thing of, in that first year, that was what they drill into you, to then where when you get to your final project, it was actually quite easy to convince the tutors of your project, because if you hadn't got it nailed by then, and bear in mind a lot of people are freelancing at this point already, and if you can't do it, they're sort of looking at you like, oh shit, what have you been doing like for 2.5 years? So no, it's really interesting, because I'm intrigued to know what experiences you've had from like freelancing in graphics, because just from like the small amount I've done it, and from stories of obviously we've heard around the studio, you know, you get your worst clients, you get some good clients, but it's never perfect the first time. Do you know what I'm saying?
that is, definitely. It was because I said, I guess going on from school, like after like doing product design for A level, like A levels weren't even amazing for me in general anyway. Like academically, I wasn't, obviously I'm not like the brightest spark, but like I'm not like I'm not stupid, but I wasn't exact. But after doing that at A level, I remember I called up Bournemouth. Like I didn't apply to UCAS. Like I didn't apply think about going to uni at all. And I remember got my results, and I got 2 C's and a D, which I did maths, physics, and product design. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with that. Could have gone a lot worse.
For sure. Yeah.
And I remember calling up Bournemouth. I was like, oh yeah, I want to do product design. Like, do you have any spaces for next year or whatever? And the lady said, oh yeah, we're actually I'm actually sitting next to the course leader for product design right now. Like, do you want to speak to him? I was like, oh, sure, okay.
Geez,
have like a random call with him, have a chat and stuff. And like there and then he was like, yeah, gives me a little interview, like asks about why I want to do it and stuff. And I ended up going. I was like, oh yeah, can I just defer my entry to next year? Is that all right? And then went on a gap year and fucked off to the other side of the world for like 4 months, which is class.
That's great.
But like that was a massive thing in my life to help me learn a lot about life and just things in general. I learned a shit ton that time traveling, and then came back from traveling, preparing to go to uni. And then when I got to uni in first year, I was really excited to get here and just do product design. The course is always really hands-on. Like it's the first week we were in there, we were doing workshop skills and learning that stuff. And I remember we had like a very brief term on Photoshop. And we learned the basics. I remember absolutely just pulling my hair out because I had to rasterize a layer every time I fucking dropped it into Photoshop. I was like, oh, don't do this. Why can't this just already be rasterized?
That
was just really annoying. Yeah, like when I was trying to erase shit, and it's like you can't erase it because you haven't rasterized. I was like, what's that even mean?
I don't know what that means. Bear in mind.
Yeah, I still don't know.
The thing is, I think just obviously because Photoshop works in raster in the way that it works in pixels, so I think it's just getting it prepared for being like
it was just.
But
I just remember that it was funny and learning it. I was like, wow, this is just awful.
Well, the thing is, you're not on your own there because so again, first year. This is the thing because bear in mind, I had a similar thing with you where I'd done college, I'd done all right. I knew straight up. I knew from year 11 I was going to do graphics. I just sort of knew, and I think a lot of people do if they're creative. They know they're not going to be going to a regular job, and I missed my interview to get into the course. My parents were like, oh, so when's the interview? And I was like, that's a very good point. that is very good. I'm going to look at that. And obviously 3 weeks ago. Right. So I sort of just went, so what do I do? I'm done. I cut, so I ring up UCA and they're like, no, you're in the course. We got you down. And I was like,
that's mad.
So I was like, right, fair enough, thanks, and I put the phone down. I was just like, right, so how's that happened then? So without an interview, I'm in the course, whatever. But so I was nervous going into it because I didn't take a gap year. I went straight in, and a lot of people had a gap year, came back, and I was thinking, are these guys gonna know like loads more now because they've had a year of potentially doing work or doing program, or improving their knowledge. And I was quite amazed, like, it depends on the A levels you did, I think, but I had like a good, I'm going to say 3 out of 10 knowledge on general Photoshop, Illustrator back in A level. Some people didn't, some people hadn't touched it. And bear in mind it's degree level. And obviously, like, again, if they weren't taught it, you can't expect them to know. So we started like the very basics and I went along with it, but you kind of think like, shit. There must be a way of getting around just having to relearn the basics. So obviously, in that first 6 months, I'm thinking I can sort of trace around a balloon. I don't need to do this. But again, it's the thing of I kind of regret not taking a year out in the end because I was worried personally that I would be behind. But actually, I wasn't too far behind. It was just that people, like you say, people had more life experience, I think.
Yeah,
I
100%.
think,
I think, yeah, that was literally the only reason I took the year off, to be honest. I wasn't ready to go into uni at all.
yeah, to
Like,
study straight away.
and I took that year to seriously do nothing, like not nothing, but as in nothing academic related. I didn't
Yeah.
I personally didn't try and work on any skills or anything. I just took that year, like I worked relentlessly for like 6 months. I was banging like probably 16-hour days a week, probably.
Well,
And
this
the
is
rest
it.
of them were
Yeah.
at least 10 to 14 hours. And I was just saving loads of money to go traveling. And yeah, I was definitely had that same worry though, of being like, oh, if I take a year out, everyone else is going to be a year ahead. But then sort of halfway through the year, I was like, oh, I'd like save loads of money. I'd like plan this awesome trip away. And I was like, actually, I feel really good about where I'm at right now. And
Yeah.
being 18 years old and going to another country on the literal other side of the world.
Where was it that you went? Did you go
Yeah,
New
so I
Zealand?
went to LA first because my dad was going out there for work.
Right.
And it literally, she was just like, oh yeah, I'm going in 3 weeks. Like, do you want to start your traveling then? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I'll just do that. Because my mum worked for BA, so we could book flights like sort of whenever we wanted.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
And so I flew out to LA with my dad and then left him. So I was there for 3 days. Remember having the worst jet lag ever. Like I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning both nights. It was awful. But then got to New Zealand on my own, and then I was just on my own then for most of that time.
So so did you have plans on what you were going to do when you went? Obviously you did, surely, or did you just roughly? Oh my
yeah,
days.
I kind of winged the whole thing. Like the whole thing was 100% winged. Like apart from New Zealand was completely. So I went to New Zealand on my own.
Yeah.
New Zealand was we had friends in Auckland, so I used them as like a base camp. So I went to stay with them. I traveled around the whole North Island, like sort of off my own back, sort of planning things myself. And then I went around the whole South Island like a planned bus tour. But like just by doing that, I learned a lot about organization, which I don't know a lot at the time, didn't know a lot about, still don't know a lot about. We're getting there. But like it was just a great time and meeting loads of cool people and experiencing different things, and just like as a creative, you like to take in a lot from what's around you and sort of experience what's around you in terms of like, well, for me, like I love being outside in nature, and that was a place where I could be like comfortable, and that would help me be more creative in turn and stuff. So when I was out there, I was just having loads of fun with like photography especially, and just enjoying all of that.
I think it's great to be like a people's person as well in the stuff we do as well. And I feel like if you do that, God, that must have been like that's perfect.
Well, I remember this. It's funny you bring that up, because I remember being in this hostel and I was so shy. I was just like, I'm here on my own. I don't know anybody. Everyone else was like a lot older than me. I'd say like the average age was probably about 24 when I was in New Zealand, maybe 23 of the people I was hanging out with anyway.
Yeah.
Not a lot of them were 18. Actually, I only met one person who was under 20, and he was 19.
Wow.
That whole time I was out in New Zealand. And just I had to speak to people. Like I was forced to do it.
Well, of course, yeah.
And like learn. And I was speaking to people that didn't even speak English, like just non-verbally communicating. I met this really nice Chinese lady who cooked me the most unreal food for like 2 days.
Oh man.
She was lovely. But she didn't speak a word of English, and we were just sort of like, but it's a skill to learn non-verbal communication. And it's just like that. Those are little things, but they made a huge difference in
the
outcome of my life, I guess.
So
far.
Did you choose to go on your own, or was it just a thing that winged?
Yeah,
that is crazy. No, I mean I can respect it.
Yeah, I went. So basically, my best mate Phil, who came out to Thailand, and at the time our girlfriends came with us as well.
Right.
So I met them all out in Thailand, and then stayed with them for a month. Then went to Australia with my girlfriend at the time. And we went around Australia and stuff. But to be fair, it was a bit mental, because in Thailand, the sort of last week of Thailand, she had appendicitis, and I had to drive her to a hospital on the back of a moped at like 4 a.m. It was crazy. And like we went to, and then she had an operation like 4 days before we were flying out to Australia, and still managed to get out there. Honestly, if I told you like, it would take ages, but at some point I'll catch up with it. But
I was going to say it'd take hours by the sounds of it.
That 4 months is like some of the craziest. I've had some of the craziest experiences ever.
It's just great. Yeah. I can honestly, I envy everyone that travelled, because I mean, a lot of people. Well, again, a lot of the Woking lot, but I don't think a lot of us travelled in a gap year if they had one. It was just saving up. But I know that a couple of people solely saved up to then do uni to then travel once they've graduated.
Yeah.
I feel like from people who have done the gap year, they've done it to either, well, like I say, they plan, if they plan to travel, they've either done it right after they've done that full 18 years of studying from primary all the way to A level, and they just want to get on travel, or they do it where they want to get all of it done, they can have that degree and then they just jet off somewhere knowing that when they come back, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like that's like the kind of two.
Yeah, I think both are like really viable options either way. Like if you want to go travel after, I think it's just as good as going before. Because obviously you're still having those experiences, but after uni you've got even more like knowledge of the world and how things work and stuff. So to be honest, I'm definitely going to be going away after uni again. Because just got to avoid going into the real world as long as possible. But I definitely.
Well, you say the real world, like we're quite lucky. Well, I'm lucky in the way that wherever I've got internet and a computer, I can work. So.
Oh yeah, no, same thing.
So like in that sense, you don't need to really settle down. I tell myself I don't need to settle down anywhere too long if I really don't want to.
Honestly, yeah, I completely agree. It's that's actually one of the main reasons I want to freelance. Actually, it's just that freedom, like in sort of everything you're doing, having first of all just being able to work from where you want to. Like I remember being on my placement, and all my placement was done all online. And I was working at this graphic design agency, and like I feel like it would have been useful to be able to go into the office and stuff, but you know, I could be in Bournemouth or I could be in Windsor, or I was sometimes in Swansea visiting my family, and like sometimes I was in like another country still working for them.
That's
and like it was all cool, and it was just that, and that was an agency, but obviously, this is during COVID, so everything was not in person anyway. But I know they're adapting a sort of working from home thing as well now, as well as being in the office.
Well, I think a lot of companies, I've said this before, I think on another like podcast with someone, but like I think COVID taught this industry in particular that if you wanted to work on from home, shall we say, or remotely, you're more than able to. But I think a lot of people would still prefer if it was in office or in a studio, people would probably still take the advantage of working with people similar, because obviously, as you know, like I took my job during COVID. I haven't touched the office since I've worked here. And
crazy.
Obviously my plan is if they get a bigger studio, I'd love to move down towards the coast and actually work there, because then you're getting that social interaction with your colleagues. And that's what got me in love with this industry anyway, is that you meet some crazy people like in this industry, but I love it because you don't want it to be boring. You're with these guys 40 hours a week, like it's gotta be fun.
It is so fun, and I never met any of my colleagues once in person apart from my boss. I met him once, and it would have been so fun just like being in the office, and I would just imagine having like a nice big comfy like swivel chair and being on my desk and then just like pushing back and being like, hey, what do you think about this design?
Well, I went to, so during my degree, my third year, my tutor linked me up with this creative director who worked on mobile design, so like user experience. And it was something that at the time I was like really interested in, because I love sort of digital design. I like things to be quite crisp and clean, so it kind of made sense. And I went and saw him, and their studio was in the centre of Canterbury where I was studying. And you go from the old town in Canterbury with the paved roads, and you walk in, and it was exactly what, like, if I was to design a studio, this was it. Pool table, gaming chairs, desks, computers, Macs everywhere.
I can imagine it completely.
Yeah, and coffee machine, and like I was there for a morning, just like peeking over people's shoulders, having a look and talking to people, and I kind of left. And I was thinking, because at that time I was like, I just don't know what I wanted, because I enjoyed my course, but I didn't know if I wanted to like go straight into something like it. And I walked out of that, and I said to my tutor, "You've pretty much relit the flame that was in me," because seeing that kind of made me realize why I love this.
Yeah, so it's reminded you.
But no, so it's things like that, and obviously once you leave uni, I think you'll probably find somewhere similar, because it sounds pretty much identical in the way that we work anyway, apart from little details. I wanted to talk. We brought up freelancing briefly.
Yeah.
What got you into when did you sort of like sit down to yourself and go, right, I'm going to give this a crack?
It was so yeah. This is quite funny because I remember it was second. So I was in second year. I was halfway through second year when COVID hit, and so obviously, it was actually brilliant because it was 2 days before my maths exam, and I was really not ready for it. And they were like, "Yeah, by the way, everything's been cancelled, so we're going to move your maths exam to the end of the year." And I was like, "Thank fuck." I'm gonna relax a little bit. So anyway, I got home, and at the time I was sitting on like a 2-2 at uni.
Right.
Like I wasn't really in a great place, like academically.
Mhm.
I was really loving uni. But I think I was just enjoying the social side like a bit too much. Like,
Of course.
but it was kind of, yeah, it was necessary, and I enjoyed it nonetheless. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So I got back from, so I got home during the lockdown, and I remember calling my head of my course, and I was like, Russ, I think I need to drop out. Like, I really am not feeling doing this degree. Like, I really just don't think I can do it. And he was like, don't do that.
No.
He's like, there must be something that you like. What do you like about the course? Basically, he was like, and I said, well, I really love doing the workshop, like doing the hands-on and stuff was always awesome. And I remember saying to him, like, I did enjoy like learning a bit of Photoshop and stuff, because at that point I was doing, so obviously, I played the Bobcats American football team.
Of course. Yeah.
At the time I was like kind of their social media designer, but I hadn't done anything consistently. I just done like a few posts here and there, which I started doing in first year, sort of towards the end of first year, and then for a bit through second year, and then basically second year I got on the committee as the social media manager.
Right.
So I was just managing their social media, like putting out posts here and there. And I was explaining that to my tutor. He's like, well, why don't you just keep going with that and see how that goes? And because that's obviously a skill that's going to be useful nonetheless, even if it is graphic design. I was like, yeah, sure. Anyway, so I basically just started chipping away at Photoshop during lockdown, and I had this awesome like mental fitness coach. He helped the Bobcats, called Alex, and he was his thing's Fluid 38. I feel like I should say that, but basically he like flipped my life upside down, like genuinely, because he helped me like create healthy habits instead of like just sort of the way I was working currently was just like I just sort of would leave it last minute, everything would be unorganized, and he just helped me sort of reorganize and create healthy habits. So the first habit I created was every time I walked into my room, I'd do like 2 press-ups. That's all I had to do, just get down and do 2 press-ups when I walked into my room. And he was just like, look, build on this mentality of a little bit every day, a little bit every so often adds up a lot.
Yeah.
And from doing those press, it was wholly evident. Like I went from being able to literally probably do about 15 press-ups to like 45 in the space of about 2 months of just doing 2 press-ups every time I walked into my room. And I was like, holy shit, this actually works. So I like just took that same mentality and put it towards Photoshop, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna do 15 minutes today. And every day without fail I did at least 15 minutes for the whole of lockdown, like with that the whole time. And some days I would bang out like 4 hours, some days 2 hours, some days even like, but I'd say on average towards the end of the first lockdown I was doing at least like 2 hours of Photoshop a day, or maybe an hour a day.
Wow. Okay.
Just because I just wanted to get good at it. Like I was loving making the American football posters.
Yeah.
And my best mate Niall was a freelancer at the time. He still is actually. So and I really loved his work and like doing stuff with his work. And I was like to my mum and dad, I was like, oh yeah, I really want to do what Niall's doing. Like I really want to be selling my designs. I remember saying that to them. And then sort of it was like September time. Then September came around last year, and like I got one of my mates from one of the old Bobcats who graduated a couple of years ago messaged me saying, oh, we've got this podcast and we're looking for a logo for it. Do you reckon you'd be able to help? And I was like, oh, okay, sure. And he's like, yeah, we'll pay you and stuff. I was like, oh shit, okay. My first paid job. And I made the logo, charged a whole £15 for it.
That's where it starts.
It is where it starts. And did that logo for him. And basically, I was like, hey, mum, dad, I did it. I sold a piece of my work.
It's a great feeling, isn't it?
It was pretty crazy. I just remember coming up with I remember them asking her how much is it going to cost. I was like, sitting there for hours. I was like, oh shit, can I do this much?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, but what if that's too much? And what if they don't? And they say no. I was like, oh, well, I still have that problem now, to be honest.
Everyone does, I think.
Yeah,
Still, yeah.
yeah. But basically, that did that logo, and then a couple maybe about a month or two later, got a random message from this guy being like, oh, hey, we're doing a podcast. Like, can you do a logo for our podcast? We saw what you did for Josh and like their podcast.
Okay.
And we really liked it. Can you do one for us? I was like, oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, go on then, I'll do one. That came about, did that, charged a little bit more for that one. I think that was like 60 quid I charged for that one.
Okay, cool.
So it's up the price a little bit. And then after that, I don't even know. It's just weird, isn't it? Because
do you know what it is? And I've actually learned this myself with my Etsy stuff, is that you have to just sort of, it's almost like what you're saying with the mentality thing and like taking up little bits at a time, where you do a freelance project and you're like, right, this went well. I probably priced it a bit low, which you did, but then the next one you price higher, and then at each project and each time you do a project for someone, you'll pick up something that's not quite finely tuned, and again, and people, like, I follow people on Instagram who've been freelancing for 30 years, you know, and they'll still say that I still have this little problem that with some clients I have, and they'll be returning clients, bear in mind, so they've done well with them, but then again, it'll be something that might just nick away at them and be like, maybe I should have done. And again, that's like the imperfect perfection of doing the freelancing, because you'll probably never, you rarely get like that perfect project where you went, oh my god, from start to finish they loved it, you know, and there was no edits. Or if, and again though, like, edits doesn't always mean it's a bad thing either, because I've done stuff before where, even at uni, a project where I'm like, I'm done, and then my tutor would be like, oh, but what if you do this? And you don't want to do it, but you know in your head, actually he's got a good point. So it's again, going back to the whole traveling thing, it's a great people experience as well doing the freelancing, because you realize what the real world's like, and these guys have to part with money at the end of the day, and it's that feeling you cannot beat, that they are paying their money that they've worked for, paying you for something that you're doing, and obviously something's going well if that's the case.
It is insane. It is crazy, and like you're saying, it's when you say about sort of learning something after each job, it's like, I find as well, I don't know if you agree, that it's like quite exponential, the growth. Like at the start I learned like one thing, maybe that first logo I learned one thing, but now every time I come out, that like I've learned, the growth has just been like that. It's just gone, it started off quite slow, and then like the amount I've learned has just and grown, has just gone up like so fast.
And the quality of products should spike like that
and
as well.
The same thing, honestly. And and like after those freelance jobs, and after that second logo, I got like a pretty big one in terms of, like, for me anyway, for my scale, was pretty much a whole rebranding for this personal trainer in Windsor. And she was someone I was doing circuits with the whole year, like the whole of lockdown. So like, I had a pretty good relationship with her anyway, so I understood her quite well, which made the research like so much easier, because I knew like she was really happy just communicating with me, being like this and that. Best client I've ever had. Honestly, I couldn't fault her, and I doubt. And I know
also,
I'll say that.
I was going to say, I feel like if you know the client as well personally, they can afford to be more importantly, you can both be transparent to each other.
100%.
Because again, like you worry about pricing a project, at least if you know them, you can be like, I can't lie, I have charged this, but because I'm improving and I'm still like doing, and you're my fifth or sixth project, whatever, you then say, look, I charge this now. You can negotiate, and again with the actual project, because you know them, you can kind of be a bit more casual.
Definitely.
And
I try and keep that over.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, Karen.
No, I was going to say, I was literally about to say the same thing, where I think if you can keep like a nice casual thing, but because I had Asia, my friend, and she said that when she does projects, when she does her emails, when she does anything to do with clients, she doesn't switch. She doesn't
No.
switch the way she is. She says, if you're doing a project with me, this is me. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna be professional. Obviously, be professional, but she wasn't being, like office smart. With the way her emails were being written, or it was just how she would do her work. And obviously, that can work quite well with clients because they'd rather have that interaction. So
definitely, I definitely think that's true. It took me a while to get to that point though, like being able to be 100% myself with clients, because obviously you have those like insecurities about whatever you're doing. But like as obviously as time went on, it just got a lot easier, and now I do feel like I can be a lot more transparent, and also I'm just more confident in like what I'm saying as well. Like I feel like I'm just more knowledgeable in it all, and like to date I've had, well, including all these little jobs, I think I've had about 23 freelance jobs or 23 commissions.
There you
go. And it's just like after all of that, it's just seeing how much I've grown. And I remember coming into this year, the academic year, and saying to myself, I cannot wait to see how I'm going to be in a year's time, like when I graduate.
Yeah. And you've got to keep improving as well and keep knowledgeable on it, because it's one thing again they teach you is you obviously the program knowledge is the key, but it's also knowing what's happening like trend wise in the real world as well. Because I've had emails before where, and again, it's nice that clients sort of know what looks good at that point, but then it's also, but I've seen this direct competitor that looks like this, and I'm thinking, well, do you want to look like your direct competitor? And again, it's things like that where the knowledge of that comes in, and each project, like we're saying, you get these little experiences where you think, actually, looking back, I'd now say that naturally to my next client and say, oh, well, if you're thinking about this, just bear in mind, and that's why you'll see that sort of, experience rise like that.
But yeah, like good example of this very recently, I've had this client and he messaged me, he sent me, hey mate, I just like got your name off someone and looking for a logo, and he sent me like 4 photos of these logos. Like it's like some plumbing business.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, I want it to have a flame and I want it to be green, orange, and blue. And I'm like, whoa, let's slow down here. And I said, and I was like, okay, yes, I'd love to help you with this project, and I definitely can help you. However, this is my process. This is how I will do it. And I remember saying like, here's my flat. So I have like a flat rate at the minute, because obviously I'm at uni. I can't work full time on it, so I don't do a day rate at the minute.
Yeah.
I have like a sort of base rate for like the concept development and presentation of like 3 logos, which I have a base rate for, and then after that, it's like my hourly rate for a bit. Normally, most of the process is done within that first rate, so after that, it only takes a couple more hours for me to just refine everything and get a final logo. But anyway, I was like, so here's the price breakdown of the initial of the first installment. It includes research and development. It includes concept development, blah blah blah. And he messaged me, he goes, I've been thinking, and I don't think we need any of the research. We need to do any of the research. And I was like, okay, sure. I was like, but the research is really useful for me because it helps me create a more accurate logo,
which represents them. Yeah,
and all of that. And then I said, well, but I'm happy to work it out of the price if you want me to, because I feel like that's what he was just sort of getting at. It's like maybe a little bit too much. He doesn't think that's necessary. And in the end, he was like, yeah, let's just carry on with it. But I was just so much more. The point is, I was just so much more confident in the fact of saying that, like, hey, yeah, maybe you don't want it, but it's kind of necessary.
So it's funny. So a friend of mine, he actually did something for a plumber, another logo. And maybe it's plumbers, I don't know.
Maybe it is.
But my friend did the logo, and it was, it wasn't a plumber, it was an electrician. And and he did the logo with the cables. He sort of did something clever with it. It looked good. And he kind of got back to my friend and said, love it, but could we make the cables like the electric colours? And I think I've spoken with you about it before, like the limited use of color in logos normally works best, because what people then don't realize later on is if you want to print out flyers, you've got to print it in color, or like, and because I've done a bit of printing myself, you know that the more you add to it, the more expensive it is naturally. So my friends sort of said, look, if you want to use this for websites, if you want to use this digitally, perfect, use it. But I would recommend use this white logo, use this black logo for printing or for the things that are going to cost you to produce with it. And whether or not he listened, but the thing is, at the end of the day, it's like with anything, like you're almost consulting with them whilst doing the work as well, because all you can really do is say, look, with my knowledge, I would say do this. At the end of the day, they're paying. If they want it a certain way, you can only fight your corner so much. And that was another valuable thing they teach you at uni, because again, loads of stories going around, client wants this, client, and you hear some people say, well, I just didn't listen, I just gave them this. And you're thinking, yeah, but they're not happy now, you know? And at the end of the day, if you're a freelancer, you want them to return, or at least by the sounds of it, give your name to the next person.
Yeah,
and
100%.
They're not going to do that if they go, oh, well, Louis wanted to do this and he just did it, and now I'm stuck with a logo I don't like. And unfortunately, as much as we might disagree, they love it. So that's all you got to learn.
That is the thing. You do have to like think about making the client happy. But there was this interesting well, do you know, you must know like the future. I think you told me about
Future, Chris Do.
Yeah, Chris Do, Chris Do, whatever his name is. But he's class, and he said that he was like, oh yeah, there is no such thing as bad clients. There's only bad communication.
Yeah.
And it's like, as long as at the start of the job, you're like laying down everything, just like being like, hey, here's I want to do this job for you. Here's what's going to go down. Like, here's my process. Does this work with what you want? Like, am I going to actually be valuable? And am I actually going to be to help your business by designing this for you? Or is someone else going to be better? And if you don't like lay down those conditions, or like, not, I don't want to say conditions because that sounds like really.
No, but it's the specs, isn't it? Almost the specs for a job.
Boundaries, I guess.
Yeah.
Being like, hey, look, you know, this is what I'm good at. This is my job, and here's how I'm going to do it. And hopefully you like the way that I'm going to do it. And then if you do like it, then hire me and I'll do it for you.
It's interesting because that is like such a good point, in the way that that's almost like the foundation of it, because again, in uni they make you build a website for yourself. And again, laying down those foundations where the client might find you and love your work, but if it's showing the wrong thing, or say it's showing you something different than what you actually do, if that makes sense. Say for me, if I don't really do a lot of logo work, but if on my website I have a logo section and someone comes to me and goes, saw your logo section, I did them 4 years ago or whatever, it doesn't work. And it's so important. I think, like I agree in the way that you sort of say, right, this is what I do.
Yeah.
If I don't do what you want, you've got to be clear, because you're going to hate it doing the project because it's not what you do, and they're going to have a very long day with it because
it's good. It's just, and it just ends up being a nightmare. Luckily I haven't ever had that sort of experience where it's come out like really tits up and just on. Hopefully I don't ever have that experience, but it's just
do you think you'll carry, so you're going to carry on with the freelancing after uni, do you reckon, before you go into like, not, I don't want to say full-time because freelancing is full-time obviously if you want it to be,
I know what you mean though.
Before you go into like the product design, shall we say, are you going to continue with it?
You know what, no way am I ever going to be a product designer. Absolutely
really?
No chance.
Oh wow. Okay.
Never happening. I love product design. Like, I love building stuff, I love fixing things, I love all of that, but honestly, this past year and a half, getting into graphic design and just literally, I love it. Like, I love it so much.
That's fantastic.
I could sit here all day and like Photoshop, and like obviously posters are my main thing. I love making posters and designing those, and literally as soon as I finish uni, like I just want to keep what's going right now with my freelance career right now. Obviously it's just starting out and I'm learning, but I want to keep that going out into final year, hopefully go get a job at an agency again, just learn more about it, and just keep learning and keep growing about it, and then hopefully get to a point where I can literally live off freelancing.
That's a lot of people's ambition, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think I'm taking the necessary steps.
Absolutely, it sounds like you are. I mean, you've done many projects already, and the fact that you're still studying, doing something, I don't want to say, well, it's not that different, but you're still studying on a different sort of sector. So the fact that you can still give yourself time to develop is great, because, and also you say you don't want to do product design. The great thing about graphics is that, like I said at the beginning, it's like this umbrella where although you have the degree in product, you've got enough under your belt and the experience if you want to go into graphics as well.
You know those fundamentals, and that's that's why it has been doable to be able to do this alongside my degree, because the course has been teaching me stuff that is so valuable to the graphic design side as well. So it's been okay, and doing the Bobcats and stuff for the Bobcats, doing the posters for the Bobcats has been really, really good, because not only is it good for like our team just to have like a better social media presence, but for me, I'd love to do sport design posters, and posters, obviously I love making posters, and that's my thing. And doing that for the Bobcats like every week, doing like 3 posters a week or something for them, is great practice, and that's why I can do it alongside. And Alex, like I was mentioning earlier about Alex, with the mental fitness coach, he just made a very valid point that it's just like there is enough time in the day, because he made me split my day up into 15-minute sections, right? So in an hour you can do 15 minutes 4 times. So obviously times that by 24, it's like 90, whatever, 96 or something. That's 96 sections of 15 minutes, and
you can fit it in, right?
Every 2 days or something, sorry, whatever the maths is. But what the point is, there is a lot of time in the day, and if you can organize your day well enough and structure it well enough, you can squeeze in a lot, and 15 minutes of something every day, like I said, adds up. So even if you're only doing it 15 minutes a day, you're just gonna get better. So that's why I think there's always enough time in the day, because you can just squeeze in something here and there, and you can do like 20 different things in one day if you wanted to. Essentially, only if you want to do it. I wouldn't recommend, but you can do it.
So with the Bobcats, are you going to have, because you're social media manager, are you going to have to hire someone when you leave then, or are you going to continue with the posters?
We're actually, we're having this discussion because we laugh about it. Like I obviously, I'm a relatively humble guy, but I like to big up my work, because obviously I love it, and I'm happy and proud of it whenever I do it. And obviously I'd like to say the Bobcats are the best graphics out of all American football teams in the UK, but that's my opinion. But hiring someone new. So I've got one of the freshers who's like got a little bit of knowledge from Photoshop, and I keep setting him assignments every week. I'm like, oh, can you make a scoreline poster? For our game on Sunday, and I'll have a look at it, and if it's decent, I'll post it and stuff. So I'm sort of trying to get him to get good at it, because we need someone who's going to be at least half decent, because I don't want like a huge drop off, because I know that I'll look at the Instagram like next year, and if it's crap, I'll like cringe. I'll like, oh no, everything I've done, we've built up this whole page, and like when I first got the page, it had about 200 followers, and we're on about 1.1k now.
That's insane. I mean, and also that's a great thing for you as well.
Yeah, just understanding social media and being able to use it, and seriously beneficial in my placement as well, because the people I was working with didn't understand social media, but
they weren't utilizing it.
The world moves so fast right now as well, and around social media, and if you're not, things change in like 2 days. Like something's viral like one day, and then 2 days later it's not. And I was keeping up with that, and they weren't able to keep up with that, and that was really useful for them to have me be able to be like, oh yeah, this is what everyone's doing on Instagram right now, this is what you should be doing. It is annoying that I don't, like I know I said earlier, there's a whole lot of time in the day, but I feel like I need to put more effort into understanding like the trends of social media if I wanted the page to, especially the Bobcat page, to grow even more, like, because you got like reels and stuff, and
see that's
like all of that jazz. Like there's just so many things you can do to help boost your page or whatever, but I don't spend enough time doing that. I only sort of just create the content and sort of get it out. But obviously with final year, there is a lot of going on in my life right now.
Well, I mean, it's something that you'll be able to put time into over summer maybe, because again, if it's your personal design page, let's say, as well, you want to find ways to expand it, especially if you're on freelance as well, because you're going to need that following. But no, I mean, they're going to have to find the next Foligno then when you leave.
They're going to have to try.
Is it possible?
It might be. It might be.
It might be possible.
This kid though that I've been sort of tutoring, he's decent, and I think he did do a decent job. I was just what he showed. It was quite funny. What he showed me was good. He showed me a piece of work the other day. I asked him to make a poster.
Yeah.
And he showed it to me. I was like, this is good. Like, I can't say it's bad at all. But there's one thing I learned, especially with graphics, is although it is a 2D thing, there's nothing 2D about graphic, like what you're producing. Like you want it to have depth. Like you want, especially with poster design, you want those posters to have depth. You want them to have something to look at in like every corner, but also have enough white space for it to be, pleasing for the eyes. So you're not like burning your retina. There's like so much shit from the screen coming at your face.
Yeah.
So you've got to have a nice balance of like things going on and things not going on. And I explained it like saying the depth of it. But yeah, sorry.
The fundamental of it is like, if you're, again, something they taught us is it can look fantastic, but someone needs to, there was one tutor that said, if you can look by it and sort of, like if you walk past something and you breeze by it and you've got it straight away, and like your eyes have moved, like you've understood it and you've moved on. And they've said, like, if you can do that and get all the information you need and you've communicated to it, like that is the most important thing, obviously. But then the look of it comes afterwards, because someone's got to initially look at it, right? So
I think I was reading something that said that people only look at a post on Instagram for about 0.15 seconds or something
before they flip.
Because most people just like scroll, like, and they stop at something that they're interested in, obviously. But most of the time, most posts don't get more than a second of viewing. It's like, are you able to communicate?
It's grasping the attention. It's grasping attention first, and that's the hardest thing, because. And again, that links back to what we were saying right at the beginning, where if you can't nail that audience straight away, you will not get the attention, and thus won't communicate what you're trying to do. It's the simple as that.
I think that's why graphic design is actually really, and I think it's got better, but I think it's quite misunderstood. People think that it's literally just, hey, you draw this and it looks nice. It's like, it's just not. It's so much deeper than that. And that's why I think as well, there's always struggles with like, how much is someone going to get, how much are you getting paid, how much do you charge, blah, 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 because not people who aren't in the industry or understand design know what goes into design.
Well, there's walls to break down, isn't there? Which people don't see.
There's a lot of work behind it, and I'm like, you show people that. I was showing my housemates that, like, when I first started my freelancing and showing them what I did, and just for a logo, and they were like, "Oh, well, shit!" Like, fair enough.
It's almost like a psychology, isn't it? Like, you have to know people generally to like understand what they would look at. That's what's really interesting though. Like, to be fair, that's one of the main reasons I chose to do the BA and so the BSc for my degree as well. Because on the BA side, the Bachelor's Arts one, it's looking at a more humanistic side of the design, and sort of understanding the user, which I thought would just be more valuable to me. And so far, it's been good. But like, you're right. You do need to research like what's going on in the world and how people interact with things and all of that. And you can get a lot of that from your own experience. Like, just, when you're walking down the road, how long do you look at a billboard? How long do you look at a bus advert or whatever? And you can figure out a lot of that on your own. But then obviously just doing the stuff on the side to help understand even deeper is important. And people need to understand that there's a lot of effort and research and time that goes into each design. And when you create it, that's something you're proud of. And it's like a child.
You want to like, you're so like, I remember every time I complete a job, I'm so happy. I'm like,
satisfied.
In the whole process, I've loved every step of the process, and now this is the final product. And you see what it goes from, like, the initial sketches. I have like sketches in my sketchbook of logos, and then seeing them as sketches, and then you see them as a final product, and you think, oh, that is so cool. Like, there's a whole amount of time that went into that, and it's come out like this, and that's really cool. But obviously all the client and all, I guess what the client and their clients see are just the final product, pretty much.
That's the thing. I mean, we spoke a lot about it at uni, where we moaned that people don't understand it, and people still don't really. But thing is, I mean, people in our industry, like, we appreciate each other's stuff, we support each other, and for now, I think that's all we can sort of be happy with for now, as long as we're getting work in, right? But
for sure, it's good. I love seeing everyone like do stuff. Like I mentioned my mate Niall earlier. who's the one who actually got me into freelance, and I thought, I wanted to, he like inspired me to do it, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. He's doing some really cool jobs at the minute for like this. He does done this reoccurring one for this company in Leeds, or this little coffee shop in Leeds, and he's done like really cool illustrations for it. And it's just cool seeing him do that and seeing him succeed. And
it drives you forwards though, doesn't it? And because I've always said to like people who I was at uni with, like, it's a good competitiveness, like it's a healthy competitiveness.
Healthy, yeah, for sure.
Because you do want to see people do well, but then you're like, crap, okay, they're doing this, like I've got to up my game, you know.
Yeah, no, that is 100%. I could not agree more. Like I remember seeing every time I saw Niall put something out on his Instagram, or I've just done this job, I'm like, shit, I need to step on my game.
Yeah, I would jump on Photoshop for 15
minutes.
Yeah.
And mate, after seeing you bloody learn After Effects, I'm like, shit, I need to get back on After Effects, man. I need to start learning that.
Yeah,
again.
I mean, the thing is that the great thing about it is that there's always something new to learn or something to develop. And with freelancing, actually, a good like concluding point, just because I'm conscious with the time as well. It's knowing that you're not the best sometimes, because I've had it before where I've been at uni and I need something done and it needs to be quite rapid, and if I do it, it won't happen. So it's having a circle of people who you can go to. So I'll go to blah 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 if I need something 3D, because he will do it 10 times faster than me. If I need a certain aspect of animation done, I'll know someone, you know. And so it's important sometimes. It's as good to know what you know, and then also not, well, obviously what you don't know.
It's like outsourcing, and then it obviously puts, because you're just as valuable to someone else as they are to you as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's staying in touch with people as well. It's staying connected, and social media is another great thing. Like you say, you know, you see other people's work and you think, right, now that I've seen that, if something comes up, you know that
you could, exactly,
you could reach out. And that's a great thing that we've got now is social media. So
it is nice. I think especially around like our generation of designers as well. I think
things just go around so fast as well. Like you said with the trends, like if something will go out. Interruption.
Sorry, do you have a Pritt stick I could use, please?
A what?
Pritt stick.
A Pritt stick,
please.
Yeah. There you go. Train of thought just went. Things things on like online with design, I've found goes so quick. Like in terms of something will go around for a bit and then it will just fade out, and then something new's there, and you're thinking, I don't know how I'm meant to keep up with all this.
You remember when gradients were just like a really big thing? Everyone was like
blurred gradients. That was it. Yeah. They'd get like these.
Oh, where did that go?
Yeah, no, fully. Like they just put 150 pixel size brush on Photoshop, dot it around, and then use the little blur tool, whack a texture on it, done. And you're like
design. Some of them were quite nice to look at, but
great. Yeah, some of them are great to look at. And I'm sort of like, shit. So people actually put this out, and there are clients out there that are paying lots of money for this.
Yeah.
But we're not allowed to say that. We're not allowed to say that.
Definitely not allowed to say that. I don't remember you saying it, to be honest.
No, exactly. I think that's I think that's a great point to cut off before I start offending people that actually do that.